we talk about the US college essay and personal statement, to start by introducing the kind of process of holistic review and what that looks like in a US application process. You know, I think when we look at the US application process, it is going to be much more about getting to know the entire application and an entire student than it is simply about grades and testing. Those are important components of our application, but they are not the only component of our application. So holistic review is the way that we do this. And holistic review means that we're taking all parts of your application into consideration when making an admissions decision. Because in US institutions, we are not just building classrooms, we're very intentional in building communities on campus. And we're looking for something that we call fit. So US institutions are all very different. We have different defining kind of characteristics about us. We're looking for students that are going to engage in our classrooms and engage in our extracurricular activities. And we're different. And so what we look for in an application is a student who will fit at our institution, not just at any college or university. An example I typically give for this is the University of Chicago, for example, is a residential community, meaning our students live on campus in University of Chicago residence halls for their first 2 years on campus. Most stay on campus for all 4 years. We also have over 400 clubs and activities, from athletics programs to service organizations, social clubs and organizations, that we like to keep active and keep our students happy when they're on campus and engaged in that community, because we find that learning outside of the classroom is equally important to the learning that you will acquire inside of the classroom. So when I read an application, I'm going to be taking all of these things into consideration when I review an application. So if I read an application from a student that tells me that their life goal is to be a hermit, and they tell me all about how they love to read, and they talk about these amazing authors, and it's a very, very smart student, I can tell from that essay, they have wonderful grades. However, when I'm reading that application as an admissions counselor, being a residential community, classrooms that are really dependent on conversation and discussion, I may look at that student, and despite that student having wonderful grades and being incredibly smart from their essay, I will say, you know, they don't actually fit on my campus. That student doesn't want to engage with other people, will probably not be a great roommate to another student, and probably won't discuss different topics in the classroom. That is the kind of information that we're going to get from essays. Additionally, we also get information about your likes and the things that you want to understand about the world and other parts of the application that we don't see in lists. So the essay is going to be a really important component to our application, because we have more applications than we have student positions on our campuses. And so we'll use these essays in addition to your letters of recommendation and other parts of your application to get a strong understanding of your fit for our institution, in addition to your academic credentials. So with that, Matilda, I'm going to pass it back to you for a little bit.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to go in presentation mode. I'm suddenly not going to see all of you, but it's going to be, I might actually. The only issue with this presentation is if I want to see all of you and I want to see my notes, I need to keep the screen like this. So pardon me about that. It's okay. If you can't read, I'm going to repeat everything. So we're going to talk here about the personal statement. So in most cases, you know, you have 2 essays, and Katie said the University of Chicago, they have 3. And you will always have the personal statement, which is the main essay. If you know about the Common Application, you are going to find that universities for their personal statement use the same prompts as in the Common Application. So this is specifically this one that I'm going to talk about. And you might have supplemental essays, which Katie is going to then talk about afterwards. The importance of this essay is usually the biggest one. It has usually a 500 word count, and it's really there to highlight your personality and interest. Remember what Katie said, it's about fit. We want to know you. We look at, a way to understand you and judge whether you're a good fit. So that's exactly what Katie said about the essay. So we also see your ability to write and also your ability to argue and reason in that essay, and sometimes your proficiency in a language. So some of you will be applying as international students. You might have to submit a language proficiency language test. Some of you might not because you're attending international schools, but the essay is also a good way for us to see that. So the structure of the essay, what I can give you as advice is that it needs to be structured in some way. Now, it might be my Frenchness that transpires in the way we're taught to write essays, but remember, like Katie said, they can read up to 1,000 more essays, those admissions counselors. So it's really nice to have something structured and nice to read. Choose a prompt and answer the questions. We will pay attention if you're not responding to the prompt. So if you are trying to fit a subject within a prompt, maybe look at another prompt and see if that would be answered better with another subject. So you might know all those tips, but it really matters. So that's why I'm repeating it. But grammar matters. Proofread your essay. Use spell check. It's important to do that when you write your essay. You can ask someone to read your essay, but not rewrite it. It's very important we hear your voice. It's about you. You can give examples. You can give examples of what happened within the subject you're talking about, but avoid to have lists. It's an essay. Do not make a list. It's also not a homework assignment. You can be a bit more creative, okay? Sticking to the word count is important, again, for those counselors reading 1,000 applications. So it is important that you try to structure your essay in that sense. So when you're ready to write, like I said, choose a prompt that interests you. I always say to students, there's no right or wrong topic. Something you're passionate about and interesting.
Let's see if hopefully she's going to come back. If she's frozen, I'm going to take on for her for a little bit, and then I'll let her know when we're back. So I think when we're talking about your topics, you want to be specific. Stick to one topic. You're not going to want to kind of try to cover everything in one essay. It's important to remember that your process of writing your essay is not going to be a journal entry. Instead, it is going to be you telling us in your best light information about yourself. So with it, I think it's important to stick. Oh, hello, you're back. All right.
I know, sorry, the joys of working from home, my connection kind of, but I knew you took over, so that's great.
You can keep going. I only mentioned stick to one topic.
Yes, stick to one topic. You choose the topic that you like and you stick to the topic. It's important. And putting yourself in the position of the reader. That's good. We're always going to go back to, you're going to be one essay among a lot of essays. So it's important to try to make it interesting for the admissions counselor to read. Be yourself. Be yourself. It's the same advice as when you try to find a topic that might interest someone else instead of something that you're interested about. You have to be yourself. You can take a chance in choosing what you write about. It's important keeping the idea that you're writing a university essay, and be honest. So those are kind of listing all of my advice, but be honest. You do not have to try to make things up to be different. We're admitting you as the student. As Katie said, we're trying to find the best fit, and we want you to be, the best fit for the university. So if we're seeing another student through the essay, it's not really you. We're looking for authenticity and quality of thinking, so don't try to shape your essay around other people's ideas or phrases. You can quote people, but give us your opinion about that. and don't try to fit your entire story in the essay. There is a topic that is talk about your background, and try to find something unique in your background to write about. You do not have to write about your entire life story, but still, we want to hear about something specific about you. If you write about a specific university, make sure that you reread your essay and change the name of that university in that essay. You might think it's a stupid advice to give, but we've seen it. You write an essay, and at the end, you write the name of the university to show your motivation. And I've seen essays that are intended for another university that was sent to AUP. And it's not the best feeling, especially when the essay was really good, and then you have that line at the end that mentioned another university. So my last advice, if you're trying to write your essay and you're sitting down to write your essay, is try to brainstorm ideas that you want to talk about. You can ask yourself, who am I? Why am I here? What's unique about me? What's important to me? You choose a prompt, you write, you try to organize and edit, you proofread. You can get feedback. Try to get feedback from counselors. Usually their high school counselors are very busy, but from friends even. And finalize your essay. Take that feedback. Take the time to write it. Like I said, take the feedback about your writing. You don't have to reshape it based on that feedback. And I would say try to start early. I'm not saying too early, but try to not keep it to the last moment. So I hope that was helpful. That was about the main essay, which is usually the bigger one and the ones that is kind of difficult for students to grasp of what to write about. And the question that I get a lot is, I don't know what to write about. I think all of the topics that I want to write about are not to be interesting. I say, if you like it, you can make anything interesting. Katie will then talk about the supplemental essay, and she also has a couple of examples of essays, and you will see that you can really talk about a lot of different things and make it interesting. For me, I've had essays. I'm not a scientific person, and I've had students writing about scientific topics that I found really interesting. And when I first started, I didn't know that was going to be one of my favorite essays. So Katie, back to you.
Thank you. So absolutely. So when we're talking about essays, I certainly agree with all of the statements that you've heard. And I think I like to talk about writing your essays in the kind of context of the 3 T's. And a lot of these were mentioned already, but I think it's okay to repeat. And I will also talk about them in the context of supplemental essays. But technique, topic, and tone. So technique is going to be the first thing that is going to stick out to admissions counselors when we review your applications. This is typically something that I will especially mention when I'm talking to students where English is a second language, and that it's important to have your essays proofread, make sense, and be well organized. And so it's important to make sure that your grasp of the English language is coming through so that we can understand your essay, because those are kind of going to be the base things that we look for in an essay. Can I read the essay? The next part of the essay, the kind of thing that I think you should be thinking about, is deciding your topic. And topic choices, like has already been mentioned, are vast. You have lots of things that you can write about. Supplemental essays will guide you a little bit more in choosing your topic. But even within supplemental essays, you will have choices of topics to choose. And so it's important that you choose a topic that you can write about well, not something that you necessarily think the university wants to hear. And so with that, I think it's important that you are choosing a topic that is comfortable to you. So an example I have here. So at the University of Chicago, we ask supplemental questions. Many universities ask supplemental questions. These questions are asked and intended so that we get more information specifically about your fit for our institution. Essays will range. Sometimes universities will ask questions, why are you applying to our university or blank university? They may talk about your strengths. They may ask about what you like to do in your extra time. At U Chicago, we ask why you applying to the University of Chicago, but we also ask a prompt that is a little bit more out there and we ask 5 different prompts every year. The prompts are known to be pretty creative. The point of them is that you're going to be exposed to new ideas when you come to university. Are you going to be able to rise to that challenge? There's no right or wrong answer to these questions, and they're meant to be a little fun. But an example that we had several years ago was one of our prompts. And the prompt was dog and cat, coffee and tea, Great Gatsby and Catcher in the Rye. Everyone knows there are 2 types of people in the world. What are they? That was our prompt. And so with this prompt, I have 2 examples of students that have chosen to respond to this prompt. And excuse me, these are real examples. So I did not write these. So I hope that nobody is put off by the topic that students have chosen to write about. This is a real example. So the first example is a student that wrote to us. Both students incredibly academically qualified. And this is the first line of their essay. There are 2 types of people in this world. Those that pee in the shower and those that lie about peeing in the shower. So that's a topic choice. So even though we have guided students to talk about a topic, they've still chosen what exactly it is that they talk about. What I say here is that it's important to remember that although we read lots of applications, the point of an essay is not to shock an admissions counselor. You do not want to stand out because you've written about a topic that is so out there that they remember it. Yes, we may be sharing that essay around the office with our other colleagues, but I'm also going to question your kind of decision-making abilities when coming to university. I'm going to kind of question your fit if we look at those things. And Matilda, I think you can actually stop sharing your screen if you want to with the coming and going. So technique, topic, and tone, that's what it says. So with that, another topic that we also received, or another essay that we also received in the same year to that prompt was a little bit different. And I will read the first paragraph of this one, which was, the only time I was scolded in elementary school was for returning a damaged library book. A drop in the bathtub had left the pages of Matilda irreparably wavy and crinkly. Even with a thorough blast from my pink Hello Kitty blow dryer, the book could not be returned to its pristine condition. Librarians everywhere cringed. Jane Austen rolled in her grave. At 8 years old, however, I was not deterred from finishing the book. I simply waited for the pages to dry and read on, eager to find out whether Matilda ever escapes evil Miss Trunchbull. Spoiler alert, she does. Never was the dichotomy between those who prefer well-loved books and those who keep their books pristine more evident to me. So obviously in this example, a student has chosen to write about books. Colleges love books, right? We love students who love to read. That's not saying that you have to talk about reading, but I think it's important to remember when you talk about a topic to choose something that you are comfortable with and something that you are going to write a strong essay about. Don't stand out for your authenticity and for what you enjoy, rather than what you think we want to hear. Now, the last T that I talk about is going to be tone. And this is going to be everything else in your essay that comes across that you don't necessarily mean to include. So when I gave my earlier example, when I talk about a student who writes their essay about wanting to be a hermit, that's an actually true essay that I have the full thing of in front of me. If I had time to read it to you, I would. These are going to be the things where, yes, the essay had great technique. The topic choice was interesting. Most of the essay was actually written about books that this student wanted to read. But the tone, who is this person? What is everything else that is coming across about this student? When I read an essay about somebody wanting to be a hermit, the things I assume about that person would be that they don't like to engage with other people, that they don't want to engage in our community, that they don't necessarily get along with other people or want to do that. And so those are the things that come across in your essay that you don't necessarily mean to have there. So it's important when you're writing your essay to have input from other people and also remember to keep the tone positive. So choosing topics where you can write positively about things so that you're ending on a positive note is going to be important, because we are real people reading these essays. You want us to be feeling good about you as a person when we read this essay at the end of this, right? So tone, I think I often give an example of students who choose to write about challenges. It's okay to write about a challenge, but you don't have to write about a challenge. My suggestion for students is to have somebody else read your essay back to you. That can seem crazy. You hand somebody, you hand a parent or a friend your essay and they read it aloud back to you. It can feel very awkward. However, it's going to be a wonderful experience for you because you will be able to pick up on notes and things that you didn't necessarily know were coming across in your essay. And so I think that's a great example. Don't just rely on yourself to do the reading, rely on other people to kind of give you ideas and listen to them when they say that, oh, this seems pretty negative, or I'm not sure I would want you on my campus if I heard that information. So the other thing with supplemental essays, kind of another moment that I just want to say is that supplemental essays to universities are going to be, at times, can feel like extra work. But the personal statement is something that you submit to all colleges and universities. These supplemental essays are not there to just give you a challenge. Instead, they are there to give us more information, and we're very intentional in the questions that we ask. So remembering to spend your time on these essays is going to be really, really important, because these essays can at times actually have more weight than your personal statement, depending on the school that you're applying to. So not leaving them to the last minute and responding without kind of all of the information, making sure that you are spending your time doing your research on these essays and giving them just as much kind of attention as you would otherwise. So with that, I think we are probably running very close to time here. I'm not sure we have a time for a ton of questions, but maybe we have time for one kind of question that maybe is great for the whole audience. Does anybody have a general question that would be great for the whole audience to hear the answer to? And feel free to just unmute yourself and ask it.
You can unmute, or if you want, you can type it. We can read it out loud if you don't want to speak up.
I have a question.
Okay, Audrey.
Hi, so as most of us are international students or applying as international students, I was wondering if that was something that you would recommend not to mention in your background, because so many international students talk about moving around and how that makes up a big part of their identity. But even though it is so important to us international students, it might not be something that's super sought out, if that makes sense, because it's so common.
I think it's perfectly acceptable to talk about that. That has been something that has been incredibly, important to your background. I think it's okay to tell us and talk about that. I think the important thing to remember, though, is not to focus on the moving part, not to focus on everywhere that you've gone, but all of the things that you have gained along the way from this, and why you're a better student or a better applicant now because of that. So I think that when you're talking about challenges that you've faced, don't focus on the challenge, focus on the now, and then why you're a better applicant because of that information.
Okay. And I would add that it also goes back to the fit that Katie talked about. If you're doing the common application, it will be one personal statement for all the universities, but you can also tailor it to the university. And at AUP, for example, we get all of our students are international. So this is something that would be, yes, something our students have in common, but that would also make you a good fit for the university. So it could be a topic to talk, about for that specific university as well. We have a question in the chat. Katie, is there a subject that a lot of people write about that you're sick of reading about? Because you've read so many?
High school sports injuries, where I only read about the sports injury. The entire essay is about that time that they hurt their knee playing soccer. That can be written about a lot. That's kind of one that I see a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's not about the topic that is repetitive, because we can go back to Audrey's question about international students talking about the same thing. It's never the same thing, because you have different experiences. And I think if you make it a list of all the places you've been, then yes, it's going to be a topic that it's going to be the same for everyone, and we're going to be sick of reading about it. But everyone's experience is different. So it could be another sports injury, but don't describe the injury and the detail. Write about what happened around that or what you learn about it. And then that makes it different, because no one has the same experience every time.
So with that, I think that we have gotten to our time. So I think with that, we would like to thank you all for being here and for your great questions and for paying attention. If you have additional questions, both of us, our email addresses are widely available, and we're also going to be in the chat today, so in the college fair, so feel free to come by, stop by, and ask us questions. I don't know if you have anything else to add, but thank you so much for being here.
Exactly. Thank you for being here. And I know there might be other questions in the chat, but you can come back and ask us in our booth if you want. But we have to let you go to other presentations now. So we have to end.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Have a good day.
Okay, I think with that, I am going to head off to my booth. It was wonderful to present with you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sure we'll see each other sometime again.
Yes, absolutely. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.